With Central Idaho Mountain weather. It's July 27th, 2024. Looking out at the mid-level water vapor map, you can see we have our big high area of low high pressure. We're calling that the heat dome, and Hurricane Genevieve down here, and lots of dry air making its way up into Idaho. We do have a little bit of monsoonal moisture coming up this direction, wrapping around that high. But the big factors today are going to be smoke quality, or smoke for air quality, and I'll eventually get into how it's going to really dry out in the next week and create some warm temperatures. Some of the nearby fires we have, you can see here, we have a pretty big fire. This is the big grass fire that was feeding lots of smoke into our area yesterday in the Wood River Valley. Boise's just been getting pummeled by smoke. You can see they're in the poor, unhealthy air quality this morning. But the two big fires we have going on in the area is up here. We got the Fox and Tartar fire that are almost pretty similar. The Fox fire is raging a lot bigger. That was that bigger fire you saw in the night camera or night satellite. And then the big grass fire is southwest of Boise. And we have a number of other fires that were mostly lightning starts over in Oregon that are just pumping smoke into the Treasure Valley and eventually over into Twin and getting a little bit into the Wood River Valley. I want to bring up the winds. This is at surface levels. So every night when the cool air sinks, the surface winds kind of bring this down southeast in the valley floor. So this is where most of the smoke is getting held and contained. That's why when we look at the AQI map here in a second, it's all kind of in the Treasure Valley, Magic Valley area. If I change the height of this, so we're more in the upper atmosphere during the day, when that fire picks up speed, we're mostly in southwest flow. So that's during the day, it's going to carry that smoke column up higher into the atmosphere, and it's going to push it more northeast. That's how it can kind of get up and over the mountains into the Stanley area and somewhat into the Wood River Valley. And then at nighttime, it reverses back down and looks more like this flow here. So we start out with pretty dense smoke in the mornings, and then with winds picking up, that lifts up. So starting out with red, unhealthy, and then very unhealthy in the Treasure Valley, and Wood River Valley is actually sitting pretty good right now in the moderate level. You can see a little bit of smoke, but we are surrounded by areas of unhealthy smoke. So that's kind of a little background on what's going on there. A little bit more information on these little dots. These are all personal weather stations that tend to be less accurate than these bigger red dots. So I always go to these first, and then you kind of have to fill in the blanks when you get outside of where those permanent stations are that are maintained and more accurate for looking at AQIs. This is just a little AQI information. Once you start getting out of orange, that's kind of unhealthy for everyone. So that's what Boise and Twin are seeing today. And these orange is more sensitive for people that have asthma or some other conditions that would inhibit being out for long periods of time in this poor smoke quality. Looking at the forecast for the smoke. This is overnight. That smoke followed the valley floor down against the grain of those overhead winds, and then kind of is going to pick up today as those winds increase and those fires increase and move more of that from southwest to northeast flow. and push smoke further into the east before settling back down into the valley tonight. So we're going to continue to see a little bit of smoke in the Wood River Valley, a little bit more in Stanley and Twin, not as bad in the Ketchum-Haley area. Looking at the another her model, but this is going to see how much moisture we're going to see today. Couple maybe pop-up storms that happen in the first couple hours of the day that wrap around monsoonal moisture still having a little bit of effect. It's mostly going to be hitting southeast of us though over the next couple days before it dries up. We'll see another push of it tomorrow afternoon, some daytime heating and afternoon thunder showers, but again mostly staying to the southeast of us. I want to give a shout out to this Hurricane Genevieve down in the eastern Pacific off the coast of Mexico, now a Cat 5 with sustained winds of 160 miles per hour. This is all happening because of El Nino. So typically these hurricanes are always happening in the Atlantic, but kind of our turn this year to see that because of these warmer waters here off the coastline here forming for El Nino. So the track is going to weaken as it heads into colder water. And I would love to say that most of this monsoonal moisture is going to get up into Idaho, but that's just not going to be the case. Here's another view, current view of it. With the infrared, you can see this beautiful eye here of that Cat 5. Moving into temperatures, we are going to be near normal over the next few days, hanging out in the low 90s, still warm. Check this out, Saturday approaching 100 degrees here in Haley. 97 is what they're kind of targeting right there before it cools off a little bit. So the long-term forecast of what we're looking for the next 2 to 3 weeks is continued above normal temperatures and below average for precip. So this is kind of a big change, is we're seeing below for precip. We've been having good amount of monsoonal moisture keep us holding off from drying out quite a bit, but now is going to be, or Wednesday on is going to be the time when things start drying out. So I will kind of walk us through right now how that's all going to look. Looking at this 500 millibar chart, this is an anomaly of a couple different things, a couple different models. So the warmer colors are going to be where that high pressure is. So once Thursday hits, this high pressure system is going to actually migrate over this direction, so over into the northeast. So put this into play. You can see it building right here. That's why we're going to get those really warm temperatures on Saturday, because that high pressure, the heat dome, is going to be more centered over Nevada, Utah, almost over Idaho, and give us those really warm temperatures. And that's going to be mostly into Saturday. Okay, and here's what I wanted to say. So here, Hurricane Genevieve, you can see is totally blocked right here. So this is the hurricane right here. It's going to move out to the center of the Pacific and away from the coast, and we're just basically going to get cut off from that moisture because of this high pressure system moving further west. If it drifted east, we'd pick up that moisture. It would just wrap around the backside and come into Idaho, but it's going to miss us and continue to dry out the fuels. We are just going to get clipped by that next low coming overhead on Monday. Maybe that would happen. Maybe we could see something out of that. But then the ridge gets more centered over the northwest, so it's going to continue to dry us out for the next couple weeks, and not really good for forest fires. It's just going to continue to dry things out. The good news is we're not going to see any lightning strikes, so it's mostly going to be human caused fires. If we do see more wildfires, the red flag warnings will probably continue over the next couple of weeks as we get more wind days of wind and high temperatures and low humidities.